guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Sophia if you're new here, and I post home decor and DIY content every single Sunday. And this Sunday is no exception. I have 3 DIYs headed your way, but I also wanted to introduce you to today's sponsor, ShopTagger. If you have been following me for a while, you might know that I am definitely a bargain shopper, and ShopTagger is a web browser extension or application that helps you watch the items on your wish list drop in price so you can snag them up. As many of you know, I'm super pregnant and getting stuff ready for her nursery, so ShopTagger has been a great tool to watch some of those pricier items on Amazon, for example, drop in price so I can scoop them up for less than I would have paid without getting that ShopTagger notification. As you can see here, you can make different lists to keep everything super organized, which I also really appreciate. They also help you find different coupons that you can apply to those items at checkout, so make sure you are using the Google Chrome extension so that you can use this feature. And they recently launched a cashback feature that helps pay you a percentage to shop depending on what store it is. Check the link in the description box below to download ShopTagger on your phone or desktop. It's totally free and worth it if you want to save them coins. With that being said, let's get right into our first DIY. For the first DIY project, we are going to be making a faux potted olive tree. I ended up getting lucky and I found 2 of these enormous pots for only $14.99 a piece at my local thrift store. Sometimes you just get lucky with these sort of pots like this, but it is rare to find pots of this size for this price. So the first thing I need to do with these pots is paint them in a flat matte black paint just to give them a good solid base. A, these were dirty, and B, I didn't like the shininess of them. I wanted to be more flat because we're going to give it a more aged and sort of like weathered appearance. And in order to give it that weathered look, I just took some mud just as it was starting to dry and just rubbed it all over the entire pot. The reason you want to apply the mud while the paint is just starting to dry is because you want some of that mud to pull into the paint that you just applied to your pot. So that way it does really give it that weathered look, and then you can just wipe off whatever you don't want to stay. And that's all we're really gonna do with the pot for right now. Now, some of you might remember when I picked up this mini olive tree at the thrift store for only $3.99 when I did a thrift haul a few months back. And I didn't like the pot that it came in, and I said it then, so what I decided to do was actually remove those stems so we could make our faux tree. I also ended up buying this 10-pack from Amazon, and I'll make sure I link that in the description below. However, I had the same problem with both of these stems in that they were just too small. Stems were just not gonna work. They were too clustered. Because I really wanted like an 82 to 86 inch tree, I needed branches that were really substantial. So I just removed the leaves off of the old stems and applied them to the branches that I picked up in my backyard, and it made it look so much better. So I know it's more tedious, but it really gave it a better look in the end. So that's really what we're doing with the branches. Now for the base, I'm not gonna go super in depth because you guys have actually seen me do this before. If you watched my IKEA hacks video, I'll link it in the cards here. But basically what you wanna do is you wanna find a very tall branch and peel the bark, get some cement, stick the branch in the cement, let it dry overnight, and then remove the plastic that you molded the cement around. And that is really it. Again, for a more detailed tutorial, if you've never worked with cement or branches before, I'll make sure I link that IKEA video in the cards here. So now we have the main pieces to the basic puzzle of our faux potted olive tree. So we have the trunk, we have the pot that's done, and we did our branches. So now it's just time to go in and apply just small sprigs to the places that the branch was naturally gonna grow leaves or flowers anyway. In order to fill out this tree, I needed to use a 1/16 drill bit into specific places that would look good in my particular tree in order to fill those holes with the branches that we created. Another thing you're definitely gonna wanna need for this project is some wire cutters to make everything just seem really seamless, and you can measure everything really well. Don't ruin your scissors trying to cut floral wire. And once it was the right size and shape, it was just time now to apply some hot glue and then stick that sprig directly into that hole that we just made. This DIY was totally inspired by Valerie. She ended up doing a ficus tree, which turned out amazing, but I love olive trees, so that's why I went this route. So I'll link her video in the description box below. And this is kind of how she did the majority of hers, using kind of the sprigs that were already there on her ficus leaves and attaching them to a tree. We ended up having, like I said before, to make several different branches because my tree was so sparse. But it's really the same concept. You're just gonna have to use a bigger drill bit to get the branches to fit in those spots. So I think here we used maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then we kind of almost had to make our own little pegs to fit in. So it's really like a puzzle. You're just making pieces fit together so it looks like it naturally happened this way. In order to give it that really seamless look, we did have to do one little thing that Valerie didn't have to do, and that is to paint the trunk of our tree, because after we had removed that bark, it wasn't the same color as the branches, and that was really bothering me. So I ended up just mixing brown, gray, and black paint, and then adding just a little bit of water, almost making my own stain to kind of give it a more seamless finish. Now that they were all going to be the same color, as you can see here, I'm just matching it to the small branch. What is so crazy is I was literally going to order this Pottery Barn olive tree for $399, and I'm ranking in about $62 so far for this one. The only thing left we have to do is add more branches and then fill the pot. A little trick if you are trying to fill a fairly large pot and you don't want to use all of the expensive materials, just fill it with some like either old trash bags, like the paper recyclable trash bags, or craft paper or construction paper, and just kind of surround your pot with that, so that way it occupies more of the space, and then fill it with your expensive stuff. So whether that be your rocks or your moss or whatever you choose. I decided to go with some Spanish moss just because I feel like that fits the style of my home better, but do whatever suits your home best. And this is how our faux potted olive tree turned out. For our second thrift flip, I'm gonna show you guys kind of quirky DIY, and that is to make a watercolor clock. I love these on Society6's website. They're so pretty, and they're actually pretty affordable, but I ended up picking up this clock, and yes, it does work. I checked it with the battery first, for only $5.99, and I thought this would be a perfect kind of way to show you a little bit more affordable way to do this. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm just removing the screws from the back and then setting the frame and the glass off to the side. Now you can choose to paint the frame if you don't like the frame that you found, but I liked the color mine was, so I left it alone. Now I'm just wrapping the hands in some painter's tape, as well as all around the perimeter of the clock. I definitely could have chosen to just dismantle the whole clock, but it really didn't feel necessary. It almost felt like overkill, so this way is just so much easier. Once everything is perfectly taped down, it's just time now to go in with my Apple Barrel white acrylic matte paint that I use so often. I'll make sure I link it in the description box below. And I feel like this is gonna be kind of controversial because obviously in order to give it a watercolor base, I have to start with a blank slate. And I mean, if you know the top of the clock, you should be able to tell what time it is. I don't really need the numbers for that. So obviously if you wanna leave them, you totally can, but I don't feel like they're necessary, so I painted over them. And once everything had all dried, I ended up having to do 2 coats. I really liked the colors of this picture that I picked up from the thrift store, so that's what I'm trying to replicate too. I'm actually just gonna use this palette that I picked up at the Dollar Tree for watercolor, as well as some of these brushes. Because I like a much more muted color palette. Obviously this palette here is very pigmented, very saturated, so I had to add quite a bit of water, and also it's very helpful to have a piece of paper off to the side to kind of get your colors correct before you apply it to your clock or your canvas or whatever you're doing the watercolor on. And this is only my second time doing anything with watercolor in my entire life. So I think that if you stick to an abstract, especially a landscape abstract, then you're in good shape even if you don't have any experience, because watercolor is so forgiving. And once you're happy with the end result, it's just time to now attach all those pieces back together, the glass, the frame, and then the screws in from the back. And obviously you're gonna need to pop the battery in so it's a functioning clock. And I hope this just inspires you guys to get out there, try something different. Like if it doesn't look right, just keep messing with it. That's what I did with this DIY. That's why it's not a full tutorial on watercolor, because I'm not an expert. So just keep messing with it until you're happy. And this is how it turned out. For the third and final thrift flip for this video, I definitely wanted to save the most random for last. I picked up this bag of shower links, but it also had a lot of these other weird things. So if you guys know what these are, please leave me a comment down below, because I honestly have no idea. But for the shower links, I really wanted to make these sort of like linked marble sculptural elements that you can put on bookshelves, or you can style them in bowls. I've seen them a variety of ways. They're always sold on a bunch of high-end stores, and they're always really, really expensive. So I thought this would be a kind of cool dupe for this. So basically what I'm doing first is I'm just kind of seeing how many I would need to be happy. I'm placing it in a bowl, sticking it on a book until I'm completely happy. Then I separated them again and decided it would be smarter to spray paint them individually and then attach them. I spray painted one side completely first and then flipped them over and sprayed the other side. And we are going to be hydro dipping. If you've never hydro dipped anything before, you are missing out. This is so easy and it gives such a cool effect. All you need is water and a couple different colors of paint. I decided to use white and black, and I'm just mixing those together to give it a cool marble effect. And then I'm going to dip the shower links that we just made now that I've reattached them, being black. And a little tip, if you're like me and you don't want to ruin everything you just did, just try it out first with one, see if you like it. If you do like it, do the rest. And I really like how these came out. I think it's a really affordable way to get this look. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked today's video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, because I post home decor and DIY content every single Sunday, and I hope I see you guys next Sunday.